Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another installment of Conversations with Culture Shifters presented by my firm, Culture Shift Labs. I am Andrea Hoffman, the founder and CEO of Culture Shift Labs and Culture Shifting Weekends, and now Conversations with Culture Shifters. In this new monthly series, we'll be talking to leaders and luminaries, icons and influencers, artists and activists, athletes, and other examples of excellence in our community. And in the past, the Culture Shift Labs would host these conversations exclusively during Culture Shifting Weekends, which has been going on in New York for 12 years and Silicon Valley for 7. But the events of 2020 forced us all to find more meaningful ways to engage and keep this conversation and connections going. And therefore, we've decided to open up to a broader audience. We're tackling inequality and racial equality head on, while still emphasizing connections to information, opportunities, and most importantly, to each other. So use the chat, introduce yourself. Let's keep those connections going. This is active engagement. We all know that thoughtful insight paired with connections and collaborations lead to improved business and society, which is the aim. Our hope is that as a result of the insight of our special guest, you'll be able to take some solutions back to your respective organizations and even communities. With that, let's get started introducing our special guest today, Warrick Dunn. Hopefully I said that correctly.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. You got it right.
Before we got on the phone, we were just talking about correct pronunciation. And so, Warrick, if I could, I would like to just read your bio. I know it's always awkward for somebody to sort of recap the incredible life of you, but you have quite a number of accomplishments, and I would love to orient people around that.
Okay.
Former NFL running back and 3-time Pro Bowl selection, well known for your philanthropic and business endeavors and success, obviously, as a professional football player, which was an incredible platform for you to do so many other things. And in February 2020, you launched your second nonprofit, WD Communities, that will support families from the beginning to the end, purchase affordable and transitional housing, and provide support services, including financial literacy, health, wellness, education, and some other things. And I believe that you are a part owner of the Atlanta Falcons, correct?
Correct. Yes, ma'am.
Amazing. Some other facts. Your football career actually began at Florida State University in 1997. I think you've been retired now since 2009, right?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah, 2009 was the last year.
So had a lot of time to think about, impact and outcomes for the community and how you want to, use your financial, social, and other intellectual currency. But you were actually drafted in 1997 by the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. You played for the Bucs for 5 years, signing with the Atlanta Falcons in 2002. 6 seasons later, in 2008, you returned to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers for your final season after a incredible 12-year career in the NFL. And you were approved by the NFL owners to become the limited partner in the Atlanta Falcons. Very, very cool. And in 2013, you actually graduated from Emory University, and you were selected to join the first class of NFL Legends, which I'd love to hear about what that's all about. I think, I would love to kick off with some of the things that you are really, really passionate about. One of them is education, and it started with, I guess, during your formative years, how you were able to help out your siblings through school and how that really oriented you. So, and you also care wholeheartedly about fiscal and financial literacy and this food deserts. So I want to jump right in and have you start of any of those 3 points on what sets you on fire, what sets your heart on fire, and what are you aiming for over the next, year with your work over 10 years?
Yeah, well, I appreciate the introduction. I learn more about myself every time I hear those things. So I don't really pay attention to the past. I just try to be forward thinking. And that's pretty much how I live my life. So when you talk about education, financial literacy, the food deserts. This really goes back to, when I was in high school, my freshman year in high school, I just went to school to eat lunch, honestly. And, I played football, but, I was a prop 48. I couldn't play the rest of the year, so I had academic troubles. And at that time, my mom, she could have took me out of the school. I went to I went to Catholic school, predominantly white, all boys. And my mom just really didn't yell at me, didn't fuss at me. She challenged me. Says, what do you want to do? Are you going to prove to people that you can do it? Well, I could just take you out and we just move on. You go back to a public school. And I decided to stay. And I think from then on, that really drove me to, be much more assertive when it came to school. So I think it's important. And I learned a lot from that experience. And I think that has just really helped me grow overall as an individual. But, my first and foremost was my brothers and sisters. So when we lost our mom, for me, it was important, one, that I set the tone, the example, and be the first one to graduate from college. But most important, I wanted those guys to also graduate from high school, attend college, and achieve their dreams and their goals. And, not everybody graduated from college in, my family, but everyone went to college. And, and what I realized too, that college is not for everybody. We all have different skill sets and those things. Like, how can we apply all of those skill sets that we have learned? So, I've just learned so much over the last 20, almost 24 years from the charity of our program, Homes for the Holidays. And, it just really lit a fire for me because I was really focused early on in life on the parents and their journey, because that's what I related everything to my mom, not really understanding the impact that we had on families when it came, to financial literacy, just the health and wellness, just, kids eating better, how all of these things really affect their everyday lives and creating that stability. So it was really a force for me to educate and help people understand these are some of the issues, these are the things that you can do. And now we've really grown our programs. It's not just Homes for Holidays, but we have a financial literacy program that's called Count on Your Future, where we really try to go and incentivize individuals on not just checks and balances, not just saving money, but we want them to think long term. Think about need, go out and purchase things that you need and not necessarily things that you want as an individual. And if we can get to a point where we understand that, because you can still go out and get the things that you want when you put enough money aside, and when you invest in yourself, you can go out and get those things. But to live a good life, we really need to focus on need. And, for me, that is so important. And with our Count on the Future program, we really try to incentivize them to save money. And if they start a savings account, we will match them up to $500 with a savings account. So, and they have access to a financial advisor for 2 years. But we also, like I said, tell them to spend on need. It's like, what are the things that you really want? Do you realize what you can save and the money that you can use for those rainy days that we really live on a need basis? And that's how I grew up, on a need basis, because we didn't have a lot. So from having the financial responsibilities, I had to manage money early in life. So that really paid off for me, that it was more of a need basis instead of the things that I wanted. So, as we continue to grow, I started to understand more about food deserts. Growing up, my grandmother would cook. My mom was always working. My grandmother started cooking early in the morning, and dinner would be done at 4:00. It's just like, well, it took you 5 hours to cook, but that's just how things happened back then. And, today parents don't have time to cook long meals, so we felt like we have to be strategic on how we educate families on cooking quick, healthy meals and understanding the value of, having access to food. When you have half, of almost 24 million individuals are in food deserts, and half of those individuals live in low-income communities. But you think about living in low-income communities, the food deserts, now you have more access to fast food restaurants than quality food. So that's a challenge for low-income families. So why not really go and help and design a plan so we can help them, one, educate them on the proper foods they can eat, quick meals to cook, using coupons when you go to the grocery store to save money. And also, the most important thing I think we've really transitioned to is, how can we help you guys grow your own vegetables in your backyard? Build a vegetable box, a garden, and you could take it home and build your own vegetables and grow your own foods in your backyard. So we're talking about really transitioning, individuals' minds and bodies. And for me, it's so important. And with the food deserts, financial literacy, and just the overall family, I think it's important that we really, not think about ourselves and really think about not just today, but what we can do to help people have a different future moving forward. And for me, that's what it's all about. It's not the impact that we can make today. How can we see those outcomes come over the next 5, 10, 15 years, and you can see that, kids are different. This having a stable housing has changed a lot of their lives, created a lot of stability for them. They perform better in school. They're much more engaged in their community. They just come out overall to be better people overall. And
yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry to interrupt. Finish your sentence.
No, I'll just say it's just really good to, just help them overall understand the value of having stable housing, understanding the financial responsibility, but also make sure you have healthy foods that you can eat, which is healthy mind, healthy body, creates a healthy environment for everybody.
You just took the words out of my mouth. I was going to say the mind-body connection is really important, especially for learning and focus. And I just want to pause for a second. Can everybody hear? And is there still a really bad echo? If there is, please let me know. We'll try and figure it out, because we want you to hear all of this important conversation. So I'll look for comments in the chat. All good now. Yes. All right, the production team says we're good. So, I want to go back a little bit, because I often like this phrase, I like to go back before we go forward. And I want to give a little context to why you're why you're a Black Lives Matter activist, and also pro-police, which has to do a lot with your mom. And your mom was a phenomenal woman, and whatever she poured into you and the family is paying dividends now. You're such an incredible philanthropist and businessman. Can you talk a little bit about what the motivation behind being a Black Lives Matter activist and pro-police is, as it relates to your mom?
Well, let me just first start off and say that, Black Lives Matter, I understand the mission and the overall goal. I think sometimes people take it out of context and thinking they're not marching and protesting for the right things. And when you look in society, they're doing that. They brought, help a whole country over the last year and a half now, just really look at the issues in Black communities, minority communities, low-income communities. So I just think that's important. But when people attack the police, I am pro-police. I mean, my mom was a police officer. I understand their struggles, the issues that they deal with. And, I've just tried to educate people on, let's stop talking about reform. That doesn't work. We could talk about realignment, because things change over time. We all progress and grow in life. That's why policies shouldn't stay the same that it was 20 years ago, 40 years ago. Those things change with time. And in this day and age, we have to realize that instead of a police officer going off to every call, maybe we need a mental health specialist. You need specialists to go out and assist, to help with people, because, people have issues, and police officers are not trained to handle those issues. But I support police. I mean, they they should make more money. They're sacrificing their life, but we also have to get them to not think about warrior. They have to be a guardian mentality. My mom, walked the beat. She knew the people in the community that she served. And I would tell people, she didn't take everybody to jail. She would tell me stories, that, hey, I stopped somebody and I could have took them to jail and they would have spent the night in jail. And it's like, no, hey, I'm giving you an opportunity to do the right thing. Everybody don't need to go to jail. So I just think, we have to really take a different look and a different approach to, how we really tackle the policing issue. And I think realignment is part of that, but the system has to change. System can't stay the same. And, when you're targeting and listen, I'm a Black man, I've gotten stopped just because I'm a Black guy driving a nice car. And this police officer told me, well, I fit the description of somebody that was, maybe transporting drugs from Florida to Georgia. Because I still have Florida tags. And, I was just taken back. And back then, we didn't use cameras and all those things. What if something would have happened and, I'd have just been another individual Black person, another situation with a police officer. So, I knew what my mom taught me on how to respond and how to respect. But at the same time, I just think, some things are done intentional. And I just think we all need to really take a step back and one, support them, but also call it out and make change. And that's what we have to have just moving forward. Things are different. But should police, make some adjustments? Yes, some realignment that needs to happen. Training needs to happen. Who they hire needs to happen. So, it's a boatload of things that need to happen. And we need a system that really wants to break it up. And now I'm not saying let's start from scratch, but you have to really reassess and look at the system and really build it, from the ground up again. And you have core individuals, but what I've also learned is that everything starts with public policy. And we don't realize that as individuals is that, we want different outcomes. It's the people that we elect. Everybody's focused on the presidential elections. No, it is the elections in your community. They dictate how you live and the type of lifestyle that you live locally. Those are the people that you really have to focus on. President has no power unless, the local people that you elect propose policy. President's not proposing policy. So I think people need to go back to what we learned in school early on and really apply and remember and apply those learnings that, we have to change public policy to change things and to move forward.
I think clearly losing your mom being murdered really shaped your head and your heart. Right? How you took care of your family, ensured that they went to school, but also it sounds like you bring a perspective that is about isolating sort of the bad actors in a situation, right? And those bad actors are certain sort of rogue cops and maybe the culture of the police sort of, industry, if you will, right? It is an industry. And so you're saying, let's isolate the bad actors and call them out for who they are and not sort of throw the baby out with the bathwater, but also think about what kinds of reform and evolution, learning evolution, training evolution is needed in the sort of the police, the business of the police.
Let's use realignment. Reform has a negative connotation to it.
Yeah.
I would say realignment, because that's really what I think needs to happen. Today you don't see police officers walking the beat, really getting to know their constituents.
Right.
A lot of times they're sitting in their police car, writing reports. And, when you take somebody to jail, that's a long report. I mean, that's the last thing you should really want to sit and do, spend a lot of time doing paperwork. It's just like, how can they become much more engaged? And I'm not saying we need to have policing that's back in the 80s, early 90s and the 70s. Right. But like I said, it's realignment, really getting police officers to go and support their community. Let them volunteer, let them attend, meetings at, different congregations, churches, and those things. Just letting them get there and people get to know who is serving them on a continuous basis, I think is
Right.
important.
Right. Yeah. There are some programs in different parts of the world, other countries. I don't know if it's like Norway or Sweden, but I want to say it's sort of that part of the world, and they have a lot of really innovative programs, right? So if we could take some things that are happening internationally and some of these innovative approaches to engaging community with the police, I think it would be really interesting. There was a group of people I put together several years ago, and one of the women in the room, she was a big Hollywood executive. She was talking about her son who is on the spectrum, right? So he has autism, but it's not so obvious. She actually had to bring him to the local police department, introduce him to all the police officers, and let them know, this is my son. He has autism. If you ever see him anywhere and he doesn't respond to you in a way that you would expect or you need him to, it's because he has autism. And so if you say turn around, put your hands up, he's not going to respond to that. And so there are so many ways that the police officers need to definitely be realigned, as you said, to where the world is today. And you're always going to have bad actors everywhere, right? So we have to make sure that we're not sort of lumping everything together. And so I like your approach to that. There's a question from the audience, if you're okay. I would love to present it to you. Mike is asking, what do you think of continued redlining in the housing market, lack of capital and prejudice and racism, and decisions of some of the banks and financial institutions for families and businesses? People of color are struggling to establish credit, and so obviously all that's tied to housing and other, narrowing financial inclusion.
Right. Yeah. Well, that is a huge issue. Redlining, that's how people, it's about control, and it's more about money instead of helping people. And, what we're trying to do, you talked about WD communities. Really, I'm trying to help individuals, and we don't call it affordable housing. That's just a negative word, right?
Mm-hmm.
We call it housing first. It is important that people understand in our culture, housing solves a lot of issues. And if we can create that environment for families, that's what we want to do. But we're also trying to do the traditional route and work with businesses or banks to help individuals get the right financing. But we also want to use money that is out there to help individuals to lower their payments, so that now a house that costs 180 could cost 160, 140. And now it's much more of a manageable mortgage. And, when you're paying rent that's 3 and 4 times what you make, that's a struggle. And, a lot of the issues when you say the lack of capital and prejudice and racism, I've seen the movies, I've watched, I forget the name of the movie, but I saw the movie with the housing. They wouldn't sell the houses to Black individuals. You had to have a, white guy step in. We have so far to go as a country, because this stuff is still happening. Even though this is 2021, we're in some ways, the way that people look at life and how they view life is focused more on how big my profit can be, and not necessarily, the value of someone's life. It's just horrible. And I just think we have a long way to go as a country, because it's so many issues. And again, I can complain about it. All I can try to do is, play with the rules that are there within it and try to make the best of the situation. But it comes back to policy. It's like you have to have people that are supporting you, that are going to help you create the change that is needed. And, I've mentioned this before. People in rural communities have the same issues as people in low-income communities. They don't vote on the same policy. They have the same struggles, access to internet, jobs, healthcare, same issues. They're just in rural America, and it's just crazy. But they don't realize the similarities in how they vote sometimes when they don't vote for things that are in their best interest. But overall,
yeah,
a lot of these issues that Mike talked about, they're big issues, and that we need to really go through policy to change a lot of what he's talking about.
I want to talk a little bit about two things. One, can you share any success stories that you've seen as a result of your work through your nonprofits or anything that you've done, even personally investing in your own family and uplifting them in other communities? And the other is, I think it's important, the saying, if you could see it, you could be it, right? So people saw you as a football player. That's great. I also think that, I think we can both agree that that is what would be expected, right? You athlete, entertainer, and that's a lot of, what people aspire to be, not recognizing that you could be a business person, an investor, right? A founder, an entrepreneur, and the wiring, right? And the stomach that it takes for some of those things. And also, I think the access. So 2 questions: success story as a result of your work. And would love for you to talk a little bit about wherever you're comfortable, your business endeavors and what that means for you to show up in different communities, letting people know you can do something beyond football. And here's an example.
Right. Okay. So the first, success with the organization. We've had a lot of families that have, they're still living in their homes, or what I call success is that they bought their first home, they sold that home and bought another home. They have transitioned. They understood, the value of having a stable environment, but that's the quickest way to grow wealth in this country, through home ownership. And they've taken the equity that they made in their first home and they've advanced themselves. And I have one recipient, she's bought 3 homes, but she's also really have just kept excelling. When you have more of a stable environment, as parents, now we can actually go in and now take our focus off, okay, how am I going to make it every day? We have an environment. How can I improve our lives and continue to build and grow? She's been able to do that, and I'm proud of her. I don't want to mention her name, but I'm proud of her. She's just like a great example. We've had kids over the years now who family never went to college. They've gone to college and have graduated, and they're moving on. So we do have a lot of success stories. And today I know the organization is doing a lot better of making sure we stay in constant contact, understanding the growth, being with them through their milestones that they reach, birthdays and holidays and graduations and so forth. But we also want to we really assisting our families as they transition through housing. Owning a home, the issues are different when you first move in, from 6 months to the year, 3 years, 4 years. And what families don't understand is that home maintenance is so important. To maintain a home, we have the budget for that as well. So that's a part of that financial responsibility. But just overall, I just think, we had a lot of success, and we're trying to touch families in a way that it is life-changing from day one. We don't want life-changing to happen, 10, 15 years from now, but we want to impact someone's life from day one, but have constant contact so that we can help them grow. Any challenges they have, we want to be with them along that journey. So I just think we've come a long way from when we first started this program in 1997 to now. We've really come a long way, but I have a great staff and I have great individuals that are working hard. And
well, in fact, if I can jump in real quickly just to talk numbers, if you didn't already cover this, is it accurate that you have helped 189 homeowners and 512 dependents in 24 markets to get home ownership as part of your impact?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And today, I would tell you, the last time we did an audit, I know right now we're about to do another audit in a sense, an academic study on the program, but we have a 92% success rate, meaning that families that are still in their homes, or they bought a home, and sold their home and bought another home. So we do have a 92% success rate from the last time that we actually did a study. So it's been a lot of positive growth. And the thing is, we would go to any community. All communities are struggling with housing, a lot of different issues. We're open to really coming and impacting that community and bringing our program that we have and all of our services, the financial literacy. Now today, because of COVID, you can do a lot of things online. We would love to come and have families participate in scope and work with other organizations, other cities, just because I don't want to reinvent the wheel. It's
Right.
about partnerships. It's about partnerships. And I think that's important, that people need to really understand that partnerships can help you grow. And I know you talked about like my business endeavors, right? People is like, wow, you became a partner with Atlanta Falcons. People don't understand sometimes it's about relationships, but this started so early in my life that my mom, she didn't want me sitting in the house, just around. She wanted me to be active. She also gave me an opportunity she created experiences for me. And when I say that, I started running track when I was 10 years old, and I got an opportunity to start traveling outside of Baton Rouge, Louisiana. I was going to Texas. I went to Pennsylvania. I went to Omaha, Nebraska, Chicago, Illinois. I mean, we went out to California. And when you have the opportunity to travel and you see different things, that helps a kid inspire. And I tell my friends today that we have to create experiences for our kids so that they see the outside of their 6-7 block radius and really understand it's a big world out there. It's a lot of opportunity. Some people are living good. Some people are struggling. You have to understand that and help change the mentality that, our young kids have to really inspire. And for me, I just think that was a part of my growth, but also it really helped me understand my journey when I became an adult at 18 years old and responsible for my brothers and sisters. It wasn't about me, it was more about them. And I had to learn to put them first. So all my decisions really came to that. And, I just think over the years, I built relationships with individuals, and Mr. Blank was one of those relationships that I built. I can tell you our first conversation wasn't about the game of football. It was about life. It was about the impact of the community. Wanted to have a positive impact in the Atlanta community. And he understood my passion about helping families and really trying to grow our program. And just over the years, we developed a relationship. And I got cut by the Falcons. And one of the last words he said, one day when you finish playing this game that you love, I would love to call you a partner. I had no idea what that meant. And believe it or not, I played another year. And then I said, Mr. Blank, hey, I'm going to retire and just move on. And he was just like, listen, I would love to call you a partner. And, I was like, okay, what does that mean? And we had meetings and meetings and meetings on that. And I just say, for me to be able to become a limited partner, it's about an important relationship that I built with Mr. Blank, who's a great individual. Believe it or not, a billionaire. He cooked dinner for me. He had meetings with me and really said, hey, this is something that you need to do. Not really understanding the gravity of what he was trying to propose, but I had to make sure that I was in the right mindset, one, mentally, but also financially. Could I invest, give money away that I wouldn't see anymore to become part of the Atlanta Falcons? And, I had to meet with my financial advisor, and people know me in money. They say I'm tight. So I had to be really strategic about how I invested, dollars in my strategy long term. So for me, I had to put in money that I was comfortable with not seeing, but I didn't want to change my lifestyle too much. And I tell people, I wasn't the highest paid player at my position. I wasn't, all United Nations or whatever. I was a guy who I managed money, and I spent more money on some of the things that I wanted because I worked for it and I earned it. But it was more about need. And I put myself in a position that I can just, act like money has disappeared and it wouldn't change my lifestyle that much. And I invested. For me, that was like the biggest the biggest and most important part of my business. And after that, I started to just grow and have a more conscious and focused on the strategies that I talked over with my financial advisors early on. We built a strategy about the things that I would invest in and so forth. So listen, I've done like everyone else. Once you invest, you're going to make money and you're going to lose money. You take chances. That's a part of it. But I've been more successful than I failed.
Yeah, I there's a question that I'm dying to ask you that may be like out of left field, but you're a ball player. You're used to out of left field, right? So I'm going to just read a comment that somebody that's listening in has made, and then I'm going to ask you the question. So Stephanie Jeffries said, financial literacy is a generational gift that keeps on giving. It's integral to community building locally and abroad for sure. And excuse me, my phone is ringing. Sorry about that. But the question is, when did you get it? When did you personally get it? And it is that you're a person that, sorry for the phone ringing, that you're a person that could take risks, understanding what your risks are, understanding what the opportunities are in a way that you transition from family, support, right, to your college career, then to a football career, and now to a business career. At what point in your life did you understand all of that coming together to make you the mature business person, community sort of community solution, provider that you are? What was there a thing that brought it all together? Was it the Atlanta Falcons opportunity where you said, well, wait a second, I need to have a mind shift to think differently about my future so that I leave a legacy that's very different than what I came from?
Well, that's hard, right? Because I had a lot of responsibilities when I was 18 years old, and my mind changed then. At that moment, I just thought about, I need to make sure that they are taken care of, my brothers and sisters. And that was really more of my drive. I just think over the years, I understood dollars. I was more of a math guy, a science guy. So understanding numbers wasn't very difficult. You got to have it to spend it. And, once I got drafted, I just think, my signing bonus was like $3.5 million compared to today. That's nothing, right? So, getting that really helped put me in a place where, okay, well, how can I manage this and grow this over the course of time? Now, I still have to live day to day, but I can do some things for my family. So you have to be really strategic. And I just really, developed a plan, a long-term plan. And I tell people this all the time when it comes to financial literacy. I said, I wasn't trying to live for today. My goal was, what type of lifestyle do I want to live the next 20, 30, 40 years? And you plan for that, right? And, you can take calculated risks. And I was only going to take so much of a calculated risk, but, you take chances sometimes where you do invest, like I said. But I was really strategic on how and what I was doing to make money and save money. And I was really strategic. And I made some really good decisions early on. But, I got to the point, and my financial advisor told me, it's like, work, you don't ever have to work. I was like, what are you talking about? No, I can't stop, because anything can happen. I've seen that with my mom. And I don't want my brothers and sisters to think, well, okay, now that I'm retired, that, I can just sit back and just put my feet up. No, I challenge my brothers and sisters. We have to think outside the box. You have to manage your own money. I can only do so much for you. So it's putting a lot of pressure on them and really helping them understand, the things that they needed, not necessarily things they wanted, but I had good guidance when it came to financial responsibilities. And I've had the same financial advisors since 1997. And I grew with them and really grew and just matured overall as an individual when it came to being financially responsible. So now when I see people, I can go out and buy things. Do I really need it? No. Do I want it? No. I would rather, and I get yelled at this, that I've given more money away probably because I've tried to help people. When I first started the charity, that was money out of my own pocket. I wasn't fundraising. I wasn't doing anything. I put the money in myself. So I've done a lot when it comes to losing money, but I've always been really strategic on what I would invest in, and investing in the Falcons. That was just a huge and great opportunity that I'm happy I took advantage of. But I've also been a part of things that didn't work out, and it's just a part of it. So you have your ebb and flow of wins and losses,
risk reward.
and it's just what it is. And I said my risk tolerance. You have to have a risk tolerance. I take some risks, and I'm not afraid to fall down. I know I'm going to get back up and be really strategic moving forward. So it's
I feel like you're in my head a little bit, right? Because there's a question that came up, and I think, I don't know, sometimes my spirit is such that I just infiltrate other people's spirit. So but you said something that is a question somebody had in the audience, which is there anything that you wishes you could have a do-over with? So either a failure that you learned from, or something that you did that you, in retrospect, wish you would have done differently.
Oh, I mean, so many things that, I'm not a perfect human being, that I wish that I can do over, or lessons that I learned later. And you got to think, I didn't have a father in my life. So for me, I had to learn some things the hard way. And being on your own, I had a lot of responsibility, and I didn't have all the answers. So I'm not going to make all the right decisions and so forth. And the thing is, all I can do is utilize the people around me and ask a lot of questions and try to get a lot of advice. And, you take their advice and you try to make it into your own. Some was really good, and some, I didn't do it, and maybe I should have, but it's a lot of things that I wish I could do over. It's hard to just pick one. You playing football, it's like, well, I know if I'd have stayed, to the wide side, I could have made that extra 5 yards, or, I was too quick cutting it back. Sometimes you have to have more patience. And I just learned over the years that it's so many decisions in the moment that you make. You got to just try to make the best decision. And, that's one of the things that I've learned from my mistakes. Those mistakes that I made were the ones that, I thought too long, and I second guessed myself. If I make the best decision in that moment, 9 times out of 10, that's the right thing to do. And now that's just in the moment, I make the best decision for in that moment, because things can change, but make the best decision within that moment. And that's what I try to do. So that helps eliminate, things that I want to do over with. So.
Yeah. No, I think that's beautiful. What I'm hearing you say is, like, be kind to yourself, right? Because life is a learning journey. And so if you just give yourself enough kind of grace and space to say, almost self-talk, right? And May is Mental Health Awareness Month, right? And I was talking to our mutual friend, I believe that Will Allen.
Yep.
Right. So Will and I were talking about his transition after football and how he dealt with major depression. Right. And they don't talk about that a lot in football. So just in the spirit of Mental Health Awareness Month, is there some advice that you would give to people to just be kind and gentle to themselves? And is mental health a part of your program for your nonprofit?
I would say mental health, it starts with the individual. You have to realize and know that, someone can suggest that you go see a counselor. You, the individual, have to own up with the things that you really want and need. And I started going to counseling. No idea that I was depressed or going through a lot of issues, or, looking back, it was just coasting through life. I started going to counseling in 2000, and counseling was huge for me in my life and the things that I wanted. It really helped change me. If you ask people who knew me before then, they said I never smiled, I never laughed. When I did go out, I was in the corner. I didn't drink. I just had a bottle. I didn't talk, didn't smile. I mean, I was just pretty much coasting through life because my focus was more family.
Yeah,
How
you were
can I
very
be?
intense. You were very intense.
Yeah, and that focus changed once I heard a guy talk about going to counseling to play the game of football. I was like, man, I can play football in my sleep. I've been doing it since I was 7. So I started going to counseling, and that changed my life. And so I'm an advocate of, mental health. For me, it is important. And I tell people this all the time: is that when I started going to counseling, I never looked the counselor in the eye. I was ashamed. I didn't tell anybody. I told them, hey, I play for the Falcons. I don't want anybody to see me. Can I go through the back door? Can I hide in the room? They accommodated me. Over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, things started to change. And I wasn't ashamed of who I was and that I was going to counseling. And I started to speak out on going to counseling and how that has been so beneficial for me. Counseling really helped me go and sit down with the guy who shot and killed my mom in Angola prison in Louisiana. I sat face to face across from the guy because I
Wow.
was in a place in my life that I was searching for answers. And I needed the answers to come from him because he's the one that really changed my life and my future overall. And, I was able to go there and say, hey, man, you did, and I was searching for peace and direction because he had so much power over my life. I wanted to change that. So I wanted to take that power back and really live my life. So counseling for me is huge. And years ago, I started a counseling program with the charity called Betty's Hope, where it was really about helping, kids. We was going to schools in the Baton Rouge area. We would actually go to the schools, do a program and really help kids who may have lost a dog, parents are getting divorced, and, just a lot of those issues that we don't realize that, the trauma that is caused. Just think about the pandemic now, how kids are mentally, being challenged with, learning from distance and so forth. We really just try to give kids the tools and the resources they would need. So when something, like that would happen, they would have the resources where they can really, step back and apply the things that we were teaching them. And unfortunately, that program started really draining, myself and the charity of money, and we had to suspend that program. So, but mental health for me, it's important. It's something that I want to start back up because I just think in this moment in time, that program would have been, great to really go and now help kids in low income communities who don't have access to that. And definitely a lot of minorities, we don't value counseling. I say, hey, rich white people go to counseling all the time. I mean, they go to better themselves. Let's get past the negative connotation. And when you have a professional football player who's, they think we're strong, we don't have issues or those things. I'm human too. I put my pants on the same, one leg at a time. Hey,
That's exactly it.
Yeah, we all have issues. So, let's not be afraid to really, challenge ourselves and to think different. That's why mental health for me with WD communities, families, that's one of the requirements. They're going to have to go to counseling. I want them to work out because healthy mind, healthy body creates healthy environment for everybody.
Yeah, we did our last conversation with Culture Shifters. We were talking to Terry Crews, and he was talking about this idea of, which speaks exactly to what you're saying, is this idea of lack of information and misinformation in the Black community, right? And that doesn't have to necessarily even mean underserved communities. It can be underleveraged executives. It could mean, employees that are brilliant that you're not including. And so I feel like this idea of lack of access to information and misinformation is really a thing that Terry touched on brilliantly and that you're talking about, right? Each of us need to wake up in the morning and say, we deserve to be the best version of ourselves in mind, body, and spirit. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. And, over this past year, during the pandemic, I had calls with a lot of our families to learn about issues they were dealing with because of the pandemic and so forth. And I know one of my recipients said something that was so profound that it stayed with me. She said, "How can you hold me accountable when I don't know?" Right? And that's the problem. It's a lot of things that we don't understand. Even when you come from a Black community, that's not common knowledge that, hey, don't be afraid to go to counseling, or, counseling has helped us in this situation with marriages or whatever. It's such a negative connotation. It's just, we have so many issues because we're undereducated. And now we have to do a better job of creating a platform that really gets information out, that we're not trying to scare people, but you want to live a better life and give yourself a better opportunity. These are the things that you can do, and I would give examples. So, you know what? Such is doing it. This billionaire is doing it, or, they're helping themselves. Why don't you help yourself? Your family examples, but about other minorities, executives that are actually doing it and promoting it and pushing it, so that we can get people to understand that it's bigger than ourselves.
Absolutely. And, I want to thank you for being so open about your journey with, going to therapy and what it meant for you, and that it's another coaching, right? It's another prong in the coaching, toolbox to help people become the best versions of themselves, because there's a lot we don't know, and you can actually accelerate your well-being and your purpose and your center getting more grounded by adding another coach, right, to your toolbox. And this is just like you have a workout coach. You need to have a mental health coach. You don't even have to go anywhere with issues, and everybody has them. It's just about saying to yourself, I deserve to be the best version of myself proactively. There's a question from the audience. So thank you for sharing. Congratulations on a successful career and pivot out of your career. Might have two questions here. Were you prepared to pivot, or did you just happen to understand that organically? That's one. And you can answer both or just one of these. Second, are your charities the long-term vision? Are your charities the long-term vision now? If not, what's the next pivot in adding to your portfolio?
Well, I can tell you, when I retired, I had no idea what I wanted to do. Mr. Blank, that's probably one of the reasons I became a partner, is because Mr. Blank asked me, what do you want to do when you retire? I had no idea. He's like, hey, do you want to coach? And I was like, no, I would rather be up there with you. And I pointed to the box. So that was like the driving force. And I tell you, when I retired, I wanted to take a break from doing anything because I didn't spend time with family when you're playing.
Right.
I didn't do a lot of things. I wanted to take a break and really try to enjoy my family. But then I got to the point where it's like, man, I have to do something. And I started searching and trying to figure out. And that's why I went back to business school. I applied to Emory. It was the only school I applied to. And I didn't tell any of my partners, right? These guys they've made all their money. They're enjoying life. And it was one of them asked me, well, why didn't you tell me? I could have helped get you in school. I wanted to prove to people that I can do things on my own. I didn't want their help or connections. And I appreciate that, but I wanted to try to do something on my own. And I just felt like it was important because I was sitting in these owner meetings. Believe it or not, there's a lot of things that's going on. I mean, I was financially responsible, but when you've been playing football for 12 years, you lose a lot of those things, those skill sets that you have, because I've been watching film. I can tell you the wrong step, or guy should have did this or that on the football field. But when it comes to business, it's a lot different. And I just wanted to work on my business acumen. So that's why I went back to school. And for me, that was my biggest pivot, because that was a challenge, like having to really get back in the classroom and learn. And I tell you, when I first started, I had no idea what was going on. And my classmates all of a sudden started realizing, well, I need to put this in football terms. And once they started doing that, it just all clicked and it all came together. And it just it, it it just grew. And I say a pivot for me has been not necessarily stopping what I'm doing, but now we need to make some adjustments and improve. And that's why, I love the fact that, we grew our programs with the Count on Your Future and Scope program. We also have a scholarship program, Hearts for Community Service, where we try to help individuals who are getting involved in the community, but also, need some financial assistance. We're giving scholarships out for that. But all those issues really help me now move in a direction to I want to start building housing for families, not single parent families, but all families. We all have issues. Everybody has struggles. I want to help 2-parent household, military, whoever it is. It doesn't really matter for me. That's why WD Communities really started. And I'm just trying to take the things that I've learned. And my pivot really is to now become a developer so that now we can go into the different communities and really help change outcomes of individuals and assist them along their journey. And the most important thing about the programs that I have is that it is a requirement that families, if when they purchase one of our homes, they have to take part in this program for at least 5 years. We want to go after generational. We want to hold people accountable. They have to do their part, and we're going to do our part to support them. But you got to break habits. You got to, you change outcomes over time. It doesn't happen overnight. So we really want to support them along their, like I said, along their journey of home ownership. And that's just a part of it. We want to be able to challenge kids to think outside the box. So, what's next for me? I have no idea. I'm just trying to be the best version of myself. But, ideas come, things come. We're going to, I will make adjustments. I'm not afraid to try something new, or, I have enough people around me that I trust, that I can bounce ideas off of. But, I want to grow and expand. My pivot is really expanding what we do at the charity, growing those programs, hiring more people so we can grow and do more work in the community, because it's about changing lives and it's not about work done. So for me, I just want to impact the communities that we serve in a positive way that is, transformational, life-changing.
We have about 3 minutes left, and I'm going to throw out a fun fact that I know about you. It's going to make you laugh, hopefully. And we're going to throw up a little bit of information about your upcoming fundraiser so you can share with our community, which are always about abundance and generosity and wanting to help one another and enable each other's success. Talk about that, and then I'll wrap up. So fun fact about you is that you are a huge fan of Taco Tuesdays. That you just, I just had to throw that in. So when I get to meet you in person, which will be soon, and hopefully we'll have you in Miami at the Culture Shifting Weekend with us, we will make sure that we have a taco bar for you extraordinaire. So that's my.
Well, I'm saying I do love Taco Tuesday. I mean, I do love Taco Tuesday, but overall, I like to cook. Most people, that's the one thing I like to cook. I like to grill. And, they call me Chef Boy, your homeboy. So that's my name, Chef Boy. I'm from Louisiana. So I got to know how to.
There you go. Well, we have a crawfish festival up by where I live in New Jersey. So I'll have to let you know about that. But I'm going to take that as an invitation to come try your grilling. And if the production team can throw up the invite to the upcoming Juneteenth celebration, if everybody could take a quick snapshot of this, please, and make sure that you support all of the great work that Warrick is doing. And make sure you put in the chat, if you haven't already, the link to his nonprofit. Do you want to give us a quick 1 minute, and then I'll take 30 seconds to wrap it up on your upcoming fundraising efforts?
Well, here we're doing something June 10th, and we also have something coming up June 25th. Usually the organization has a golf tournament. This year we changed it. We're doing a virtual event online. It's called Wine, Dine, and Cigars. So, I got a bunch of my friends I've called, and they're going to participate in this event, and that's on the 25th. But the June 10th one is really to, highlight Juneteenth. Just the struggles, the history, the freedom that, all Americans, Black Americans wanted back in the day. And now 400 some years later, still some of the issues that are out there. So we really want to celebrate the growth and the opportunity to continue the work that we do in the community, but also change lives in a positive way. And if you can support the charity, you can go to wdc.org. We're looking for partners. This is not a one-off for me. I want to build relationships over the course of time, because we can do something in the community, but if we do something over the course of time, we're going to have something that is transformational, long-term effect. And that's what it's really all about. So the charity is all about helping families be a better version of themselves. And I'm just so thankful for the opportunity to come on today and talk to you about it.
Oh, I mean, there are millions of people using the LinkedIn platform. They've been partners of my firm, Culture Shift Labs, for years. So, we're grateful that you have made the time for this and see the importance of really casting a wide net with your message. I want to wrap up with, some key takeaways from this conversation, and then just let everybody know how to tap into Culture Shift Labs as well. Warrick, you talked about impact, outcomes, and opportunity. Those are really critical sort of three pillars of how people should be thinking about working with you and thinking about community: impact, outcomes, and opportunity. Scaling your solutions. How do you partner with other organizations and individuals that are moving the needle forward in similar ways, so that you're not duplicating efforts, but partnering with different individuals like you and organizations. So we will look to provide some opportunities for that kind of connectivity. And forgiveness in the health and mental health space is forgiving yourself and providing yourself with opportunity to say, I deserve to be the best version of myself. And then the opportunity gap. How do you close the opportunity gap? By providing people with the first thing that I mentioned, which is, opportunity and information, and then the support they need along their journey to be the most physically, mentally, spiritually, financially fit human being that they can be. And thanks to you, you've already laid the groundwork for that. So thank you for all of that. I want to let everybody know to please visit cultureshiftlabs.com to learn more about our racial equality work that we do in our day job. Conversations with Culture Shifters is content and opportunity for everybody to engage. But please visit us at cultureshiftlabs.com and learn more. Warrick, any final closing moments? We're 2 minutes over, but I think it's worth being over for you to close us out.
Well, I just thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit of my story, the organization's journey of, just growth and opportunity. For us, it's really about impact. You invest in an organization, you really can see where your dollars are going. This is not transferred to my pocket. What I do from the bottom of my heart. And, I invest my own money. I don't make money at all. So people understand that this money really goes to the programs and to the people that are hired to do the work. And I'm very diligent and vigilant about making sure the communities that we serve, that we constantly come back over and over, but we have positive change outcomes, a better future, not just for, the families that we work with, but all families. We want to be able to assist people who are just not Homes to Holidays recipients. We have our other programs, Count on Your Future scope, that all families can be a part of. And we want people to really educate themselves so they can create a better future for themselves and their families. So that's what it's all about: breaking generational poverty. Not the first generation, but the second. I mean, that's most important is the kids. We got to focus not just on the parents, but the kids as well.
Well, like somebody in the audience said, the work you're doing is the gift that keeps on giving. So thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your time. Thank you to Christy and teams at 8 Degrees PR for helping to make a lot of our content on Conversations with Culture Shifters happen. Warrick, we're here for you. We look forward to engaging, and thank you again, everybody, for all of your time today.
Thank you.